So here we will see endpoint registration first. So first of all, when we register endpoints on CUCM, the provisioning of the endpoints is done on the CUCM, whereas it's different in the case of expressway or VCS. The provisioning is done from the endpoint manually. So we'll see how. All right, so we are on expressway. Uh, these are the endpoints. I gave you access to. I sent you an email yesterday in that you have the IP address of endpoints, two endpoints. So it would be something like 103.4, 5.6.7.8. So different for you. So you can check accordingly. And same passwords and username, admin, and just go with the capital one. So the endpoints we have here are the SX80 devices. Both these are the Express device SX80 cell presence device. On the home page itself, you can see some general information like about the product, the last boot time, serial number, version, and so on here. Its IPv4 address is this, MAC address, and so on. Here we can see telepresence endpoints support both SU23 and SIP, and we have these registered with both SU23 and SIP. If let's suppose we want to get this endpoint registered only with SU23, we can disable SIP. If we want SIP, we can disable SU23 and enable with SIP. We'll see both the settings, how we can configure it on the endpoint. Same way, we have another endpoint with IP102 here, and it's registered with HT23 and SIP both. In HT23, you see the IP of the expressway as a gatekeeper IP. Then there is a number which is E.164 format. It is only numeric, whereas there is another format of assigning the ID that is called HT23 ID, which is as a URI, which is the same used by the SIP as well. Not all SH23 endpoints support this format. Most of them use just the numeric, but SS80 does, so we can provide the URI here. So with the endpoint which does not support this ID with the URI, there we will need to add transforms. Yeah, but we will see that as well. So with SIP, we can see it's registered, and the proxy server is the expressway. And the URI is this. So we have endpoints with the numbers as 4111 and 4112. For you, it can be different, so you can see accordingly. And we can make calls using these URIs or the numbers both. So let's check in Expressway. We will go to registration. Some problem with this lab. All right, so in registration by device, we can see that these devices are registered. We see 4 entries because both the devices we have registered as HT23 and SIP. So the first one you can see with the number 4111 with the HT23, and then SIP we see only the URI. And the creation time, addresses, device type. Here is the system itself. And within this, we can see the actions or registration details we want to see. Yeah, it is active, and endpoint protocol is HTTP here, and scroll down. We can unregister it from here if we want to. And to register it back, we will have to go to the endpoint and register from here. So let's do some changes here. So what we are going to do is we will just log into the web page of the endpoint. Let's suppose on the first endpoint, we want to make it a SIP endpoint, and we'll enable SIP and disable HTTP in this case. For that, you have to go to Setup, Configuration. Seems like this part is being shared by someone else also. Check. Same on both. We will go to Setup, Configuration. I'll share the steps with you so you can follow and practice. So once you go to configuration page, you will see some system configuration settings over here. So from there, go to network services. In network services, we will find HTTP mode and SIP mode. So currently HTTP3 mode as well as SIP mode both are on. So let's suppose I want to turn this off and I only want SIP mode to be on. I can do it from here and save it. Now, once I have done this, as HT23 mode is off, it should get unregistered from the HT23 and it says status inactive now, but registered with SIP. Let's go back to the configuration page here. Some basic settings you need to know are in the network settings. The mode should be on for the endpoint. From the endpoint configuration, we can enable NTP here. We can provide the NTP IP address here of the NTP server. SNMP, if you have an SNMP that you want, you can add IP address from here. SSH is enabled by default here for the remote access. Then we can go to provisioning. In provisioning, connectivity should be set to auto, so it will be automatically connected to the expressway. And the mode can be off. It can be auto, it can be CUCM if you want to have this registered with the CUCM or Edge and so on. Even if you use the mode off, that is like default. So it will be registered. Then in the address, we need to have the address of any external manager here. If any external server needs to be associated, for example, any Active Directory or so on, or other services. That's it. Next, as we are using this endpoint as SIP now, we have disabled HT23. We'll go now to the SIP settings here. In SIP, we have to check a few things like the proxy address, which is our expressway. The IP address should be correct. Your IP addresses would be different. So you will have IP addresses like 131, 132, and so on. So make sure the IP is correct for the expressway. Then the URI of the SIP endpoint that you want. So it is a number at the rate domain. This domain is for me, it's g1.collab140.local. For you, it will be different. In this part, it will be G2, G3, G4, and so on. You can verify that domain in the expressway by going to configuration domains. And this is my domain here. So it's correct, g1.collab140.local. Yeah, if that is wrong, then the registration would fail. So yeah, you can verify that from Expressway. Then go to the home and see the registration is showing with the correct URI and the proxy IP. Now, if we go back to the status registration by device here, earlier as we were seeing two registrations for this device, one through SIP and other through HT23. Now we can only see SIP here because HT23 is disabled. Let's do the changes here on the second one. Here I want to change this to HT23 and disable SIP. So configuration, network services. Here I want to keep HT23 mode on and SIP mode off. Save. provisioning, verify just these things, just on. Mode can be uh, off. I don't want any specific mode here, so any uh, device it can register to. As we have an expressway here, so it will register to expressway. So this is fine. Then we can go to HT23. In HT23, the call setup mode should be gatekeeper, which is our expressway, and the gatekeeper address should be our expressway IP address. These are the few things we need to check. If that is wrong, you can change from here. If you want authentication, you can enable that. We have that already enabled. Yeah, here are the two IDs. We have E.164 format ID for HT23 endpoints, and we have HT23 ID, which is in the URI format. In E.164, it is only numeric. So we can only define the number. So for this one, we have 4112, and the ID is 4112 at the rate domain name. So this is fine. If it is not already configured, you'll have to configure it, save it, and then let's go back to home and see now this should be registered with HT23. Two IDs are appearing here with the name and the HT23 ID, and SIP is inactive. And if we go back to Expressway here, refresh it, now we should see two registrations. One for 4111 with SIP and 4112 with the protocol HT23. So that is it. These are the configurations you have to do in setup configuration for the registration of HT23 and SIP for SX80 devices. Right. We can also test calls from here. I go to call control and make call to 4112, which is my second SX20. Here you can see it directly connected. The reason here is in some of the endpoints here in call control, when there is an incoming call, uh, there's some interruption here. So in the call control for incoming call, you see an answer button, but that is for devices like SX20 and some other. But for SX80, we are not seeing that answer button, and it is getting automatically answered and connected. That is because in SX80, if you've seen, there is a remote control that we use to answer the calls, but in virtual environment, that is not possible. So we have this set to auto answer the calls. So we can see the calls going and then connecting. The call is connected. All right, I'll go to call control here to see the incoming call and call again from here, 4112. Call, and the call is coming here from San Jose one, which is my endpoint's name for this one. And here we can see the name for the second one. It is connected to with the URI. And we can disconnect the call from any of the endpoint. We can go to Expressway C. We can verify the logs in bench log. We can see. So for all the events logs, if we want to find out, we can see a detailed log here. We can see call search history. So I would want you to go through these information here. We can see all the previous calls being made. This is the last one on the top that we see the status is found, which means like successful. So we can click view here and we can see state completed, found true. It was a SIP invite message, and SIP variant was standard based. Call routed was true. Some more information, areas was this. This was the value that was matched. It went to the first zone default subzone to which it is registered, which is a part of local subzone. The address is this. The port number is 5061 for SIP, secure SIP. Go through these values and find the information. Does it match the other zones like local zone match here for HT23? No, because we have HT23 disabled for that one. But it found it in the local, sorry, for SIP for this endpoint, but HT23 it found. So this is the search